Evening, everybody. It's me, Comic Crack. Just a quick video. I did some hunting in town today. Found some incredible stuff and just wanted to share with you. Just starting in on this, Joe Sacco's Footnotes in Gaza library book. It's impossible to find Palestine at the library in any bookstores here. I'm a little bit surprised. I feel like there's some authors that even at the bookstores, they kind of maintain a good selection of their work. Joe Sacco is one of those guys at our bookstore close to me here, Chapters Indigo. They carry a couple of his books kind of all the time. They're always on the shelf. And I think Fantagraphics just did a reprint of Palestine. I saw them posted on their Instagram, and there was some ignorant fuck commentary underneath by a couple of real fucking tools, which were dealt with appropriately. So I'd love to read. Hello, Jason Flintstone or Finestone Colors. How are you? Flintstone, I almost said there. So I'm curious. I've started reading this already. It's great so far. It doesn't surprise me. I love Joe Sacco's work, but I'm just kind of starting this. I'm not even that far. I'm maybe like 40 or 50 pages into it. I'm just kind of taking my time with it. Really, really great so far. And then I've been watching. He did some work with Chris Hedges, one of my other favorite political, reporters, analysts, war correspondents, commentators. There's a good. It's an interview. Sacco is interviewing Hedges. I think it's in Portland quite a few years ago. You can find that on YouTube as well, so that's worth watching. So this afternoon, hit up a couple of places. Went to Thirsty's Flea Market. I was hoping that the record dealer there, who's been buying comic collections lately, I was hoping that he would still have some boxes out. Because I'm still on the hunt for some really cheap Firefly issues. Unfortunately, he didn't have the comic section open today. He wasn't around. So I kind of visited Mad Cat, which is Dan, local Winnipeg comic addict. Hello, Pop Comics. Welcome. I've talked about him in the past at Mad Cat. Dan has always given me really great deals. He's always got a fantastic selection of books, all sorts of stuff from mainstream to indie. He's got a boatload of 50-cent and dollar bins. So I guess recently he bought a small collection of underground and independent comics. Most of what he had in the box I already had, but there was a few in there that I pulled out, 4 books that I pulled out. He had them priced at a very reasonable $5 a piece, $5 Canadian. I've talked about this book many times. I have this issue, I think 2 or maybe even 3 times already. I can't pass it up. This is probably my favorite underground, not only underground comic series, but this is probably my favorite single issue of an underground comic ever. This is Inner City Romance by Guy Caldwell. This is issue number 3. Beautiful, beautiful color. Beautiful cover, rather. Let's take it out of this shiny shit here to show you. Fantastic stuff. Guy Caldwell is still active. You can follow him on social media. He's on Instagram, and I think he's working on a new graphic novel that I think is coming out next year. Pop Comics. Jason Finestone Colors helped me sort an epic Matt Howarth collection I acquired years ago. I need to share it with you one of these days. Oh, amazing. I can't remember if you were here last time or if Jason is new to the channel or not, but I love Howarth these days. I absolutely adore Matt Howarth stuff, and I'm digesting it as quickly as humanly possible. I reached out to him recently and have an order coming from him. I just bought some books directly from him, and I'm very, very excited to get those in the mail. Huge Matt Howarth fan here. So this just this series in kind of the world of underground comics, which is something that is hit and miss for some people. I totally understand that. And even discussing it with Dan today, as he's telling me about some of the books, Bizarre Sex, etc., and telling about the dirty covers and stuff, and I'm grinning ear to ear, and he's like, "Look at you, just grinning, listening to this stuff." It's like, yeah, man, because it's fucking amazing. And I kind of pointed at his back wall. It's like, why would you want to read shit like this your entire life? Pointing at all the superhero books. So it's just, it still has kind of a stigma to it attached to it. And I think that that's just really unfortunate that people point to that kind of thing, because it's really short-sighted. It's really narrow-minded, but it's very short-sighted, because you do find some incredible stuff within these undergrounds, and you do find some one-of-a-kind storytellers within these undergrounds. And Guy Caldwell is absolutely one of them. I mean, you can see as we're flipping through this one, just his style is gorgeous in here. The whole series is amazing. It's the one that I suggest to anybody who's looking to get into some good underground comics. These ones are phenomenal. So I'm hoping that he was listing off a bunch of stuff in the collection. Again, most of it I do have. There was a couple of titles he threw out there that I didn't have. And the thing, when I show you a couple of these other books, this guy who we bought this small collection off of was buying this stuff in abundance. He had hundreds and hundreds, apparently, of undergrounds and stuff from like the 70s that was kind of in this vein, early to mid 70s. And I was telling him, it's like, let me know what else he's got, because I'm sure there's going to be, if he was that deep into it, I'm sure there's going to be some deep cuts that even I'm not aware of. And that is exactly what happened with these next two here. You turned us both on to Howarth. Oh, well, there you go. Beautiful. I'm glad I could do my part. It was 400 or so pieces from his early career. Flyers, limited releases, concert flyers, con flyers. Holy shit, man. That's amazing. Yeah, sounds like he had a really good collection. And seeing stuff like this is exactly what I love about going through collections like this, especially from guys who were just really deep into it. I've never seen this one before. I've never heard of this one. This is Terminal Comics, and right away, this cover is stunning. It's amazing color on here, beautiful character design. I love this creature with the beaming eyes here. So there isn't much info in this. This is from Apex Novelties. I did look it up on Comics Joint, and I forget the year, but it's all by Michael A. McMillan. And the basic backstory that I kind of gleaned from the Comics Joint article there was he was about 37 years old when he did this comic. He was a painter. He did all sorts of other stuff outside of comics, but his comics output was very, very minimal. And even the Comics Joint guy said that when he first discovered this, he sort of gave it a quick kind of flip through, and it didn't do much for him, so he set it aside. Cut to years later, when the name kind of crosses his path again, and he kind of takes a second look, and this time sits and reads it, starts to kind of see what I saw as soon as I opened this thing up. An incredible piece of work. Has kind of a Rory Hayes type of vibe to it. But it looks like a bunch of like gag strips. I think there's about 12 kind of shorts in here. But I haven't sat and read this yet, but I'm really amazed by this, especially the fact that the guy was no spring chicken. And apparently after this, he still went on to have a very successful career. I think he was also a film director. I've got to look his name up to see what else he's done. But I'm very impressed with this book. I can't wait to kind of sit with this one. This is kind of top of the stack for me. So that is Terminal Comics from Apex Novelties. And again, for people, as I'm seeing lately, some names that I don't recognize, although Pops Comics, I've seen you before in here now too. But just in case there's anybody else watching who doesn't know where to find information on Underground Comics, Comics Joint, COMIX, joint.com is a really, really good resource for all sorts of information about Undergrounds. The one that they didn't have on it was this Fleshopoids from Earth. This is 1974 is the date on here. Let's see if there's a date in here. Inside front. Yeah, December 1974. The bonus with this one is printed or sorry, published out of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, the province just west of us here. And I've been to Saskatoon many a time. So some Canadian underground comics from 74. Something else that doesn't come up very often, which is the other thing that Dan was telling me, that he had a couple of things that were Canadian from this era, including some small black and white stuff. So I'm hopeful that there's some even maybe local, because I know there was some local guys here in Winnipeg that were kind of in the underground comics scene. But this one is great. The style doesn't kind of hit me as much as Terminal Comics does, but it still doesn't look bad. And the fact that it's Canadian, there are obviously some Canadian underground comics, but there isn't a real big resource, as far as I know, that kind of lists what those are. Obviously, Herald Head and the Georgia Strait would be the biggest ones that people know about, but I'm sure there's a million more like this that maybe had a single issue, or the creator only did a couple of comics that are out there just waiting to be discovered. So very, very excited to have some Canadian underground comics in the collection. So fingers crossed that he's got some more buried in those boxes. There's a bit of a Chester Brown kind of look to some of the characters here. Like that's a very Chester Brown kind of looking character there. And in the back, the other bonus of getting stuff like this is some ads. This one, you get some ads for some other comics. I'm assuming these are all Canadian as well too. If you can't find them in your favorite newsstand, just send the price marked on the cover plus postage to D. Geary, Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. So Beer Comics, Go for Freedom, I think that's what that says. More Beer Comics, Nature Comics. So something else to kind of keep hunting for as I kind of try to find some more information about these. Dave Geary, there you go. So there's the creator's name there. Don't delay. And finally, from Dan at Mad Cat, I've got issue number 1. It's comic size. This is issue number 2. I think it was only a 2-issue series. This one is magazine size, and it is Wet Satin, the women's erotic fantasy magazine. Future Frolics there on the front. Oh, low power. And then the back cover here. So we get kind of the usual suspects from women's comics and that. Let's see if there's a table of contents here. Trina Robbins, the editor. 1978 is the date on this one. Lee Mars is in here as well too. Sharon Rudall is here. Joyce Farmer, another Lee Mars. Trina Robbins, of course. A couple of things from Trina Robbins. Mary Williams and Shelby Sampson are the names that I'm seeing there. So, yeah, I haven't even flipped through this one yet. I love Trina Robbins, and it's always good to find some like a little more oversized as opposed to just comic size undergrounds. Very curious to dig into this one too. So that was all from Dan at Mad Cat. He's going to try to. He was saying he was going to try to. He's been putting some stuff out every Saturday. I haven't been going every Saturday, unfortunately, which is my bad, because I'm sure there's been some other gems in there. There's a few of us in town that are into these things, so there's some stuff that has been sold off, obviously, already. I always say that I'm the only one, but that is obviously not true. I'm far from the only one that's into these books. And then I hit up the first Saturday of every month at Red River Comics downtown. He's got the upstairs open, and so I hit it up to kind of dig in the bins upstairs. The prices, they're a little more expensive stuff upstairs. He's still nice enough. He always gives me a deal, which is incredibly nice of him. They're great people, Dennis and his son. I've been going there since I was a teenager. Red River Books has been around forever. So I had a kind of a short list of some books I was looking for. It was a pretty quick visit. Usually I spend a lot more time kind of digging through the bins, but I kind of found everything that I wanted. And that price tag was getting up there a little bit, so I stopped myself. Lycanthrope Leo, 3 issues of that one. I've read issue number 1. I've got issue number 6 as well. It was only a 7-issue mini from Viz. A werewolf story. I really, really liked the first issue quite a bit. So now I can kind of read the first 6 and kind of get going here. Kengo Kaji story. Kenji Okamura doing the art here. What year do we have on this one? 1994 is the date on this miniseries. I don't know if this collects everything. Lord Tatman, how are you? I don't know if this collects everything that was published from this story or not, but I'm curious to dive in. Like I said, that first, hello, Werewolf by Lunchtime. Yes, sir. Werewolf story indeed. The first issue impressed me quite a bit, and one of the things that impressed me the most about it was there was a lot of kind of, it's not the word I intend to use, and I don't mean it quite this way, sort of generic manga type of art style, which I don't complain about whatsoever. I happen to really like that art style, but there was a couple of interesting things happening with some of the characters, some of the details in some characters' faces that really impressed me as well. I'm a big fan of werewolf stuff, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of like vampire stories. Werewolf stories, on the other hand, I'm all about. Me and my son just rewatched American Werewolf in London recently again. I've seen it I don't know how many times now, and every time I still love it. But yeah, so I'm curious to dig into this. Like, that's a very different art style for your kind of traditional manga, I feel like, with that extra use of shadow and things. So it feels like it's kind of riding that line of the more mainstream style versus the more sort of independent or undergroundish kind of style. Very Junji Ito type of look to that face there. So issue number 2, issue number 3, and then issue number 5. The one that one of the ones I'm most excited about, I finally have finished my Baker Street run. Baker Street number 8, 9, and 10. It was only a 10-issue series before it went away, and he had all 3 issues. It's the most. I was really hesitant to kind of get them because the price tag on them was pretty stiff. Even with my kind of discount that I got, I still ended up paying like $7.50, $8 an issue for these. But honestly, at this point, I just want to finish this story. And when I see them come up every once in a while on my comic shop, even though they're like $2.50 US, it's the shipping involved in that. So you know what? I may as well just go for it and just get them done. So this Baker Street 8, number 9, and number 10 is Guy Davis. Are you having a conversation with somebody else there, werewolf, by lunchtime? Can I have a piece of toast? David, LOL. Jenny, Aguitar, Yum. I'm very confused by what's going on with you there, werewolf. Maybe you're asleep. So I'm looking forward to finishing this off. I just read issue number 7 recently, so this will be it to wrap up the entire story. Very, very exciting. It's pretty rare that I see anything by Vortex that isn't the usual Yummy Fur. I'm seeing a couple of Black Kiss issues out there. I don't know anything about this. I think this was the only thing. Badlands, I think it ended up going to Dark Horse. He had an issue or two of something else called Badlands that was published by Dark Horse. I didn't take a close look at those to see if it was Stephen Grant and Vincent Gariano. Vortex, of course, being the Canadian publisher here. This is like a double-sized issue here. Looks great, but I bought it because it's Vortex and I hadn't seen it before. I think he had it priced at like $3, which is very reasonable. Color as well too, something I don't necessarily right away associate with Vortex comics. Usually black and white. It looks pretty good. Who knows? Pardon me. Who knows? We'll see what it's like. But I know nothing about this book at all. So there's Badlands. Another one that I finished up, I can now finally read, Grendel Warchild. I found issue number 1, so I've got the entire 10-issue run now. So another one I'm really, really looking forward to. This is Matt Wagner, penciled by Patrick McKeown, color art by Bernie Moreau, lettering by Kurt Hathaway. What year do we have here on this one? I don't remember. Let's see if it says in the back here. 1992 on this one. Oh, that's all from American Werewolf in London. I don't remember the toast line there, Werewolf. Yes. So there you go. Some Grendel for you. So really, really looking to get into this one. I love the style. Warchild. And almost last but not least, this is a couple more issues from Sanctuary. It went like 4 Devils, 1 Hell. Yes, I do, Tatman. I'm pretty sure that's the name of one of the other ones that I have read already. I think I might have read it. It was either earlier this year or late last year. I'm sure that's the other one that I have, though. Sanctuary had about 5 different parts. Another thing that they did with Viz that's kind of makes it difficult to follow. Instead of just continuing the number, they broke it up into kind of volumes, and then had various wakes up in bed, then the toast scene. Okay, oh, that's right. Yeah, after he comes back from the zoo, naked in the zoo. Right. Sho Fumimura and Ryoichi Ikigami. Sanctuary, love this. Really loved the first 5 issues. These are the friends that have been friends since childhood and have decided that each one of them is going to go into something different. One is going to become a gangster and one's going to become a politician, so they can eventually take over the city. And this is kind of their story, rising to power in those various in those 2 kind of fields, I guess. Really enjoyed the first 5 issues. It's not something that I come across a lot. There's I end up running into quite a bit of Viz stuff, but this isn't one that I see too often. He's actually got quite a few other issues from the later volumes, but I kind of want to just go 1 volume at a time here instead of doing too much of a backlog. And with stuff like this, I always kind of have the hopes that I'm going to find them in a dollar bin. I think same thing with these. I think these might have been priced at $3 a piece too. So the next 2 issues of that, I think there was only 8 issues in this first chapter. So we're getting closer there. So when I came downstairs, he had a couple of things set aside that he kind of upsold me on. And he said, wow, we've really got your number, because I said yes to both of them. This is something called Plot Holes by the one and only Sean Murphy. I think Sean Murphy, was he the artist in The Wake? Is the one that I'm remembering him from. I know he's done a bunch of other stuff. Did he work with everybody's favorite Rick Remender as well too? Did he do something with him too? I haven't heard of this one. It's massive, but it's also it's massive publishing. But I thought it was also, what the fuck is the name of that other thing that people use to sell comics? That other platform, I can't remember what the hell it's called right now. I thought it was somewhere on the cover as well too. But this is issue number 3. I like his style. I'm willing to give it a shot. So, like I said, but right now, absolutely fuck all else to say about it. It could be hit or miss. And then finally, the one that I'm probably the most excited about, finally found it. He had this in his hand. He's like, I don't know if you're interested in this. 100% I am, Dennis. 100% I am. He had a price tag of $10 on this thing. This is Mike Allred's first published work, as far as I understand. The graphic novel called Dead Air. It is a black and white lettering by his wife Laura. It's a story about the world coming to an end. I just started reading this tonight. I'm about half a dozen pages into it. Lots of movie and music references in here. I think that's Phantom of the Paradise there, Clockwork Orange there. So the one thing I'm noticing right away is how stiff his art is at this time. It's still really incredibly sharp, but there's a lot of just really still. Everything is very still and precise. There's an idea out there that maybe he was using a lot of photo reference. It takes place in Roseburg, Oregon. I don't know if that's where he's originally from, where Allred's originally from. But man, oh man, am I excited to have this in my hands. I didn't know this, but I've had a radio show now for quite a number of years here in Winnipeg. It started way back when I lived in Ontario, so the late 90s, and it's always been called Dead Air. I had no idea that this existed, so no relation, but there is a radio on the cover, so it was meant to be. And he is a DJ, actually. He's the main character is a DJ on one of the local radio stations. All I know so far is that the television goes static and the whole town of Roseburg gets shut down because there's been a nuclear war. And apparently if they leave Roseburg, shit's going to happen to them. So they literally get locked in their city, a quarantine of sorts. And the story is about him. His family is outside of the city. They haven't made it home yet. His wife and I think daughter, wife and child anyway. So he is kind of, the radio station is still allowed to kind of run because they're trying to get information out to people, but there's a strict curfew on everybody else. Really, really looking forward to this. Like I said, I've already started reading it, so this is what I'm going to be reading tonight. I love Mike Allred's stuff. I really get a kick out of his art. I love seeing any creator that I'm a fan of, even if I'm a partial fan of them. I love seeing creators' early stuff. I love to see where these artists and writers have come from. I'm always extremely curious how they developed, how they came to be who they are. This one feels like he's one of the guys that is fairly fully formed, especially we were looking at Baker Street a little bit ago. Guy Davis has really had a change in his style over time. You know, there's been a real change. Dave Cooper, another guy we've talked about here on the channel quite a few times, his style has really changed over the course of his career as well too. But you can absolutely see that this is Mike Allred, you know. So yeah, very, very excited about this one. Slave Labor. Did I say the year? Was it 1988? 1989 is when this one was, 1989. Let's scroll back. I saw a bunch of comments come up. Let's see. I'm debating if I should pick up the Berserk hardcovers. Is it any good? I don't like the idea of reading right to left. You guys ever read that manga? I've read a bunch of Berserk. My son has a ton of it. He actually he's got a bunch of the big chunky volumes as well too. I was buying Berserk in kind of the tankobon style way back when we lived in Ontario. When I first started getting into the anime and started seeing more anime, Berserk is one of the ones that stood out to me. I even have a number one that's Japanese as well too, a tankobon. Um, I find reading manga pretty easy. It took a little bit at first when I very first started reading it. It took a little bit to get used to, but honestly, it ain't that difficult. I found for myself, I got used to it pretty quickly. That said, I've always heard really good things about the entire series. I have not read the entire thing. What I've read, I really enjoyed, but I think you got to keep in mind too, for me, that also comes from really loving that original anime. I thought that series was fantastic. That was a big discovery time for me though as well, just discovering anime and manga back in the late 90s, early 2000 probably when that club was going on at the University of Waterloo. So I think I have a bunch of that stuff tied in with it as well. I can't read right to left, tried but can't do it. Seems like a nice, long, brutal story. Absolutely. That's neat. Mike's style changed. I always think he looks like Darwin Cook. I can see that. Jared Osborne, how are you, man? Nice to see you. I bought Dead Air when it came out. A lot of Patrick Nagel in it. Out of anybody who tunes into my channel on occasion, Jared, I knew that you would know this. I knew that you would have been the guy that picked it up when it came out. That's amazing. I'm really excited about this. Pop Comics, I agree. I love seeing how artists develop and progress over time. Absolutely. That's it. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. I will absolutely be doing a Sunday show talking about what I've read. I read quite a bit this week, so I will be around at some point tomorrow. I'm unsure if Rasa is going to be joining us this week or not. I'll check in with her tomorrow morning. But please come and join me tomorrow if you want to hear about some books I've been reading this week. It's been quite a few. I'll be talking about Cerebus as well. I've read the first 5 parts of Jaka's story. I finally fulfilled my duty as a Canadian and started reading some Cerebus. So very excited to talk to you all about that. And I've read a whole bunch of other stuff too that's not jumping to mind. Thanks for the stream. Love being introduced to new books by you. I appreciate that, Jason. Thank you very much for saying that. And thanks for coming to hang out. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Later.